looking to air it out.
Holyfield's unloading now. He's taking a shot. He's going for it.
Oh, Tyson's in trouble. Holyfield smothers Tyson. Looking to put Tyson down and end the fight. Tyson in dire trouble. He's saved by the bell.
Mike is out on his feet.
The championship rounds, round 11. And now here we go. We are looking at a sports legend in the purple trunks, Evander Holyfield. Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The top is off the fight. And Holyfield has
I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
mayhem. It is bedlam.
This is the Old Time Boxing Show on UStream. Presented by GAR1680. Here is your host, Pacquiao Rivera.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Boxing Talk Show on UStream. I hope you had a great holiday season and started off the new year the way you wanted it to. This show is brought to you by Golden Age Radio, GAR1680 AM, here in beautiful Concord, North Carolina. Many of us know that boxing has been on a downslide for about the past 20 years or so. How many times have you thought, like me, that boxing is not the same now as it was back in the 70s or 80s? Even though that might not seem like a fair comparison, since the 80s decade may have been the greatest in history when it comes to boxing. Of course, it's not as good now. My goodness, the fighters and matches we had just a couple decades ago. Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran, Alexis Arguello, Julio Cesar Chavez, Hector Camacho, Marvin Hagler, Larry Holmes, Michael Spinks, and so on and so on. That list seems endless compared to today's fighters. I mean, really, who are we thrilled about currently? Pacquiao, Mayweather, two fighters that are basically in the same weight class that won't fight each other. If there was one fascinating thing about boxing in previous decades, it is that the fight people wanted to see eventually happened. And in most cases, the audience, us, were not disappointed. Sometimes, even if their guy lost, because it was such a great fight. I remember watching the Leonard Hearns fight on a big screen in a bar at the Four Ambassadors Hotel in Miami. I was rooting for the Hitman. There was something about his fighting style that I loved. And even though he lost to Leonard the first time they met, I had to admit that it was a spectacular battle. And by the way, speaking of the 80s, how would people like Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather Jr. have fared back then? How would they have fared against Leonard, Duran, or Marvin Hagler? As great as they seem now, I sometimes wonder if they would have been very much overmatched. The Klitschko brothers, they currently dominate the heavyweight division. It's hard enough with today's alphabet soup of divisions to get a unified / undisputed title. And as long as the Klitschkos rule their division, there won't be one, since the brothers are not going to fight each other. And I don't think anyone wants to see that anyway. But thanks to an incredible history of countless and incredible fights available to us today, we can still get together and enjoy watching some of the greatest boxing matches ever to take place in the ring. With that said, I will be opening the call lines with a question. What was your favorite fight ever? What was the greatest fight ever? It doesn't even have to be one that happened during your lifetime. It could be one from long before you were born. Leonard Hearns, Rocky Marciano, Ezra Charles, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Carmen Basilio. The Thriller in Manila with Ali and Frazier. The Rumble in the Jungle with Ali and Foreman. Go ahead and call 605-215-1680 to let us know. That's 605-215-1680. I have been a fan of boxing since I was a kid. It was my father's favorite sporting event, and I watched with him while growing up. I remember seeing great title fights on regular TV. There was no pay-per-view back then, so it was basically free to watch Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Carlos Monzon, Wilfredo Gomez, Salvador Sanchez, and many others. I remember when ABC's Wide World of Sports had a great title fight about once a month on Saturday afternoons. So we had to watch commercials between rounds. That's how boxing matches were sponsored on television. It wasn't so bad. We heard stuff like this.
You worked too hard, you ate too much, the cheesecake made you greedy. Let your aching head and stomach hear this message from old Speedy. Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Ah, those Speedy Alka-Seltzer bubbles burst into action to relieve your upset stomach and aching head fast. Use only as directed. Oh, what a relief it is. What a relief.
Remember that? I continue to keep up with what's going on now in boxing, but mostly when it involves well-known fighters, mostly with good and outstanding records. I rarely miss a big pay-per-view event. I must say, however, that I just can't seem to enjoy boxing today as much as I once did. I remember when Friday night fights had great matchups, a really good undercard and main event with well-known fighters that were undefeated or had records of 20 wins and just 1 or 2 losses. For the past few years, when I switched to the Friday night matchups, I'm seeing guys I have never heard of that already have 10 or 15 losses to their name. I'm wondering how in the world these guys belong in the ring. And that's sometimes the main event. What big fights or even good fights do we have coming up this year? Well, apparently ESPN's Friday night matchups are set for some improvements. Let's see, 2 days from now, this Friday, from Key West, very beautiful town, in Florida, ESPN2 Friday Night Fights will feature a pair of super middleweights in the main event, and this one doesn't appear too bad, given the standings and records of the fighters. Dia Davis has a record of 20 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. He has 9 knockouts. Faces Alfonso Lopez with 22 wins, 1 loss, and 17 KOs. 1 week later, on Friday the 13th, Tion Kennedy of Philadelphia will take on Chris Martin in a battle of top 10 ranked contenders at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Kennedy is ranked number 7 by the IBF. He has a record of 17-1-1 with 7 KOs. That 1 loss he has occurred the last time he fought in August. A 12-round unanimous decision awarded to Alejandro Lopez. Kennedy's opponent on Friday the 13th, Chris Martin, is ranked 9 by the IBF. He has a record of 23-1 with 2 draws and 6 KOs. The single loss he has also happened in his last fight. A split decision 10-round loss to Jose Angel Barranza back in October. The Kennedy-Martin bout will also be shown on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. Floyd Mayweather was scheduled for a bout on May 5th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, where he was to defend his WC welterweight title with an opponent to be announced. That may have all changed. Last month he pleaded guilty on domestic charges and was handed a sentence of 90 days, 3 months, to begin this Friday, the 6th. I guess he will miss the ESPN2 fight that night. That jail time would cut into his training time, so it is doubtful that a May 5th bout will happen. There's even talk that these events with Mayweather have ruined any chance of a showdown with the Philippines Pac-Man in the very near future.
You are listening to Golden Age Radio on 1680 AM in Concord, North Carolina. Please visit us on the web at gar1680.webs.com.
I have always had a tendency to root for the underdog in boxing. Yes, I had my favorite fighters, but more often than not, I rooted for the guy with the odds against him. And of course, my guy usually didn't win. In today's fights, I still sometimes root for the underdog, or I may decide to root for the guy with less tattoos on his body. Hey, if you like tattoos, more power to you. I don't like them. And since this is a free country, it's my choice who to root for. Call me old or call me old-fashioned. I did not see such bodily displays plastered all over fighters' chests, necks, face, and backs during the golden age of boxing, which to me included every year since the inception of the Marquis of Queensberry rules, when fighters began using gloves, up until about the earlier mid-1990s. MMA, mixed martial arts, has become extremely popular in recent years. I sometimes wonder, however, if MMA would have become so popular if the caliber of boxers and the quality of boxing was still what it once was. I tried watching MMA a few times, and I just can't seem to get thrilled about two guys rolling around on the floor with each other with their toes in each other's faces. I may have enjoyed that kind of combat when I was a kid, the way I also enjoyed watching Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and Dusty Rhodes all in their Halloween costumes in a Royal Rumble with 30 fighters battling each other at the same time. But that was also a time when I enjoyed Romper Room and Bozo the Clown, or the superhero comics kicking each other in the face. I also enjoyed watching Bruce Lee movies when I was a kid. But I don't watch them now. Have I outgrown that sort of action? Sadly, yes, maybe I have. Hey, I'm not trying to put down MMA, UFC, or other ultimate fighting type contests. I know those sports have a hell of a lot of fans, and if that is what you like, that's fine. Tell me, though, what do you think about MMA? What's so great about it? The phone lines are open. Call with your comment or opinion. The number is 605-215-1680. 605-215-1680, or you can email me at gar1680@gmail.com. You can also find us on our Facebook site, Golden Age Radio 1680. Just follow the link from our homepage, gar1680.webs.com. Or if you want, you can share your thoughts on the chat panel here on this UStream site. I understand that boxing has had its problems over the years. Corruption has been a problem, fighters that have been paid to take a dive, the lack of regulations, promoters sometimes scamming the public, the need for a commissioner. In a Yahoo Sports article from September 2010 by writer Kevin Ioli, he stated the following: boxing sorely needs a commissioner-type figure to run the sport with a unified set of rules, impose discipline, arbitrate disputes, and organize championship matches. There has long been a push from some in the sport for a federal commission, but that isn't going to happen anytime soon. Given that and the dire competition boxing faces in the marketplace, it can't afford to wait to address some of its most pressing problems. We're going to stop for a quick break. I'll be back in a moment. This is GAR 1680 AM.
From San Francisco comes Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Rice-A-Roni, the flavor can't be beat. One pan, no boiling, cooking ease.
A flavor that is sure to please.
Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Rice-A-Roni, the delicious break from potatoes, now in 6 fabulous flavors. One pan, no boiling, cooking ease.
A flavor that is sure to please.
Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat.
So what do you think was the greatest fight ever? Call 605-215-1680 or post your message on our Facebook. Just follow the link from our homepage, gar1680.webs.com. I can tell you what mine was. It was a fight that happened in November 1996. That night, a man named Evander Holyfield entered the ring wearing purple trunks and faced the monstrous Mike Tyson. I personally was never a fan of Tyson. There was just something about him that turned me off from the beginning. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it has something to do with him having been too great. And somebody that is just way too great in a sport causes me to root against him. Remember, I'm kind of the underdog guy. I never did like Michael Jordan either in basketball. And after Tyson was convicted and had to do prison time, I became less interested in him as a fighter. The ear-biting incident topped it off for me. His taking a chunk off of Holyfield's ear in their second fight was sickening. He should have been banned from boxing for life after that. I had followed Holyfield from the time he was in lower weight classes and then moved up into the heavyweight division. When I first saw promotions for his fight with Tyson, I knew it would be over for Hannibal the Cannibal. You see, I always believed that most fighters lost against Tyson before stepping into the ring with him. It was that fear of Tyson that did them in. By the time they were in a stare down before that first bell rang, it was over. They were absolutely terrified. That, I knew, would all change with Evander Holyfield. Because now we're talking about an extremely religious man who had just one great fear, a fear of God. He feared no one else. I had also noticed that the majority of Tyson's fights ended very quickly in the first few rounds. So I also always thought his stamina was suspect. Could he last into the championship rounds against a good opponent? That was never really known. When Holyfield clocked Tyson with 30 seconds left in the 10th round of their first fight, and I saw Tyson stumbling in reverse like a drunk into the ropes, everything I had guessed was right. Mike was saved by the bell, but I knew it was over. He would not recover in time, and shortly after the 11th round started, referee Mitch Halpern stopped the fight. Tyson was taking a terrible beating. Many excuses were made, one having been that Tyson was recently released from prison and only had 4 somewhat meaningless prep fights before Holyfield. Regardless, I think it was the greatest fight I ever saw. Sounds from that fight is also what was used for the intro to this show. If you missed it, here it is again.
Straight right combination by Holyfield. Holyfield looking to air it out.
Holyfield's unloading. Now he's taking a shot. He's going for it.
Oh, Tyson's in trouble. Holyfield smothers Tyson. Looking to put Tyson down and end the fight. Tyson in dire trouble. He's saved by the bell.
Mike is out on his feet.
The championship rounds, round 11. And now, here we go. We are looking at a sports legend in the purple trunks, Evander Holyfield. Holyfield continues to dig in. A left hook to the head. He's got Tyson in trouble. Tyson's ready to go. A straight right hand. The counter stops the fight, and Holyfield has
I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever been privileged to witness.
mayhem. It is bedlam.
This is the Old Time Boxing Show on UStream. Presented by GAR1680. Here is your host, Paco Rivera.
That 1996 fight, by the way, is scheduled to be shown here on UStream in a couple of weeks. Visit our homepage for details, gar1680.webs.com. Our radio version of Old Time Boxing broadcasts on GAR1680 has done well, and now with the UStream we can bring it to you live. Today we have for you three of the greatest fights ever, starting with a thriller from 1950 between Willie Pep and Sandy Sadler. It was the third time these two fighters faced each other in the ring. Willie Pep is still considered by many to have been the greatest featherweight in history. However, he met Sadler in the ring 4 times and lost 3 of those bouts. They matched up in 1948, 49, 50, and 51. By the time of their 1950 bout, Sadler had a record of 114 wins, just 2 losses. 114 wins, just 7 losses, and 2 draws. Pep had 152 wins and just 2 losses. One of those had been to Sadler in their first fight in 1948. Following the Pep-Sadler fight, you will see the 1961 heavyweight bout between Floyd Patterson and the Swedish boxer Ingemar Johansson. It was the 3rd time they met. In 1959, Johansson defeated Floyd Patterson by TKO in the 3rd round, after flooring Patterson 7 times in that round to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Patterson won the rematch in 1960 and regained the title. Johansson retired with a record of 27 wins and just 2 losses, both to Floyd Patterson, which gives away the result of their 3rd fight being shown here today. You might also enjoy watching pre-fight introductions, which include appearances by Sonny Liston, Max Schmeling, Joe Louis, and the highly popular Rocky Marciano. Our 3rd fight features highlights of the Sugar Ray Robinson versus Rocky Graziano fight from 1952, which ends with a 3rd round knockout. Sugar Ray is knocked down early in that 3rd round, but gets back up and ultimately takes control of the fight. So without further ado, let's start the show.
Meets former champion Sandy Sadler in a 15-round bout for the title. We are in round 1. That's Willie Pep in the dark trunks, Sadler in the white. Both weigh exactly the same tonight, 126 pounds, the featherweight limit. Sadler's about 3 inches taller. His arms are several inches longer. He has both height and reach advantage.